Kennerspiel des Jahres. Let's talk about that. Hi, my name's Dave Adams and you're watching Nerds of Wisdom. The 2017 Kennerspiel des Jahres, the Connoisseur Awards of the Spiel des Jahres, were an interesting mix this year. We had Terraforming Mars, we had Raiders of the North Sea, and this little guy, Exit the Game. Of course, the Kennerspiel is the connoisseur awards of the Spiel des Jahres. Spiel des Jahres is meant to be more of a family-orientated German-style award. However, the Kennerspiel should be more of strategy games, more in-depth thinking, a little harder to play. But having played through all three of them now, I kind of just wanted to spend a moment to discuss the differences and talk about the decisions I would have made when handing out this award. But before going into what I would have done, it's important to note that the Spiel des Jahres and even the Kennerspiel and even the Kinderspiel some years are still and always will be probably controversial. And it's not really because any of the games are bad or anything, it's just everybody has an opinion, and so when you get everybody's opinion into the mix, people are going to disagree. But I did think that the Kennerspiel Award was particularly different this year. The idea that these games, this collection of games, and it wasn't just the one, it was the series of games, the Exit games, that won the award, does raise a few questions. Not just that, you know, how does it fit in? It's only an hour long, they're not replayable, all those sorts of things. But the fact that, is it all the games together? Do you need to play multiple games for the experience to be a truly Kennerspiel deserving experience, or is any one game on its own sufficient for that experience? On a separate note, it was nice to see Stronghold Games get one of their games put into the Spiel Awards, and Western Trails nominated. Now, that may not be a big deal to many people, but I quite like Stronghold Games. I think they produce good games, and I think they do a really great job, so anything to support them, you know, why not? Let's talk about the big three and my own context and how I would have given the award out. Would I have given it to Exit the Game? No. But that doesn't mean it's a bad game, and that doesn't even mean I didn't enjoy it. In fact, it was a really pleasant surprise to discover that I actually had fun playing Exit the Game, and that was not expected. If you haven't done Exit games, look them up on Google, find out what they're about. They're essentially exit rooms that you go into. There's a whole bunch of clues around. They're usually themed. You're meant to solve the puzzle and get out. My exit room experience was terrible. It wasn't because anyone was horrible or anyone didn't play well. Actually, it was a lot to do with people not playing well, but that kind of wasn't our fault. It all gathered together for a friend's bucks party, and my friend, doing the best he could, thinking it was the right thing, put everybody's name into a hat and drew them out randomly. Happened to draw out all the best friends into one room and all the people who didn't know each other into another room. Here we were, this group of introverts trying to solve these puzzles, working our way through these rooms, struggling to sort of be comfortable, getting to know each other, and it's just not going too well. We get into the next room, and I see a box on the floor, and it's got this big puzzle around it, so I decide to go and solve that. One of the guys decides to come and help me, seeing that maybe I just needed a little bit of help, and eventually this guy's become a really close friend. We start solving this puzzle. The hour is nearly up. We've been there for nearly 30 minutes trying to solve this thing, and we're trying different combinations. We look over our shoulder and discover everybody else looking at what we're doing. Nobody had solved any of the other puzzles. We still had like 4 or 5 puzzles to solve, and we had like 3 minutes left. It didn't go well. It was very uncomfortable and awkward. But since then, we've all gotten to know each other and quite like each other's company, so that was a bonus. So when it came to doing exit games in a box, I was not terribly thrilled. However, I gave it a go. And you know what? It wasn't that bad. People talk about the big exit room experience, and perhaps in some senses there was a bit of that, because it really did feel like a lot of the puzzles in the exit room. It was just about finding combinations of numbers and trying to put different combinations together to break locks, essentially, or find cards in the exit game sense. A lot of it was just simple problem solving, which you would find in any puzzle book. I mean, at one point I did kind of wonder, well, why would I buy this box when I could just buy one of the old puzzle books I used to do when I was a kid for possibly less money and get more puzzles out of it. What I found was that there was that shared experience. It gave people a reason to come together. We all entered into the conceit of the game, and the puzzles were not terribly well linked to a theme. The theme was very weak, and for the most part, we could force through a lot of the puzzles. So in the end, the puzzles were good and fun, but they were just puzzle solving. So for me, the experience wasn't terribly overwhelming. However, it was a fun game to play, and for only an hour. And that's the thing I think that worked for this, is that it was only for an hour. And we only had an hour to solve it. We did it in the hour. At the end, we were all sort of like, oh, that was good. And then we moved on to another game. And it was just a nice part of the evening. Was it something I would give an award to? Probably not. Was there originality? Yeah, I think these styles of games that are coming through, these exit style games, whether it's Unlock or even Time Stories to some extent, are a clever way of creating problem solving within a game. And depending on the amount of theming that they do and the amount of depth they go to, games like Time Stories in particular goes really well in depth into the story. It can be quite a good experience to collectively solve puzzles. There is a question as to the game element, and the game side of it is a bit forced. I mean, sure, it's got rules and you're working together, and sure, it's essentially a co-op game, but the end goal is just a little bit weak. You're essentially trying to score points and do it in the shortest time. It's more like trying to get a score on an arcade machine that never really gets displayed to anyone else unless you post it on Instagram. So I'm not terribly fussed. I actually think I would do more of them. The last couple of exit games I've done, I've enjoyed, and I would be happy to do more of them, and they would make for a good family experience. And that was essentially the argument of my friend Paul, who said when we questioned why this would even get the Kennerspiel, his argument was that he could conceive or perceive himself doing this with his kids and helping them solve puzzles and being there as they nut things out and work it all out, and that it would be a good family experience. And I get that. And that's really one of the core elements of the Spiel Awards, is that family side gaming. So I can understand in that context, in that way, it's a lot of it a bit parallel at times when you're all solving different puzzles, but you do come together collectively to help each other out. At the same time, that there's no, the theme's not that important, the mechanics are really the focus of it. It's not really the things moving around the board. In many senses, it does fit the Euro-style gaming and probably does fit the culture of the Spiel Awards as well. So when we talk about Terraforming Mars and Raiders of the North Sea, it's no surprise that those two games also have a very strong Euro-style gaming feel. Raiders of the North Sea is one of the games I've played far more than any of the others, and it's got that real worker placement style element, but it's got this really clever mechanic where you place your piece down, you place your worker down to take that action, standard worker placement, but then you pick one up from another spot and you take that action as well. And so each turn you're just taking two actions, and you're placing a worker, taking back a worker, but the worker you keep is the one you have to play next turn, and that can impact what actions you can take. So you're always trying to plan well and truly ahead. It doesn't get too bogged down in AP because there's only so much forward planning you can do. Other people's turns really can impact your own and leave the board state in a completely new position by the time it gets back to you. So in a sense, there's only so much planning you can do. You can hope that certain things will happen. You can work towards certain agendas, but at the end of the day, you are still confined to the board state. So that becomes a bit of a difficulty. That was no issue for me at all. I quite enjoyed that. I found that a nice challenge. There's multiple elements. You're balancing resources with provisions and finances, and you're trying to build crew for your Viking ship to take them out on raids in different areas. You're trying to build a crew that helps you build points, and you're focusing on the victory points in 3 different sections. Some of the sections that you get victory points for actually contribute to your ability to raid other areas. And so there's this really nice interaction of parts of the board where you're trying to build resources, and as you do, that can be scoring you points, and you're trying to do raids, and that's helping you score points, but that's also helping you build resources so that you can push your markers up around the board. It's not your typical point salad like a traditional Euro. However, there was enough going on that I felt like I wasn't missing out on points for any long or significant period of the game. Like you want in a good Euro, you still want that engine building feel, and you could get that to an extent, and when you did get that going, it was great. It felt really good. It felt like you had really accomplished something, because you have to work hard for it. And that's what I liked about it. Does it fit the traditional Euro-style gaming? Yes, in many respects, yes, but it's not a fully dedicated Euro game. I would say that it changes the genre a little bit, and I can understand why it probably wouldn't have the same appeal in Germany that it probably had with me. Terraforming Mars is a completely different kettle of fish, and I have to say that Terraforming Mars just made me plain angry. Angry that I wasn't understanding the cards and playing them as well as I should be. Angry that people were scoring the bonus points ahead of me. Yeah, I sucked at playing this game. However, that said, it was a really fun game. I got really frustrated at points just simply because of my own stupidity. But the game itself is pretty solid. And is it anything spectacular? Well, it's a relatively straightforward Euro, except it does have some of those American flavors, and I'm really surprised at this, these American flavors, the randomization of cards, the drafting element that starts the game. But I really like how you are also competing with each other. So it has this engine building mechanic. You're definitely building your own engine. You're working on your own sort of game. But you've got this whole element where you're competing on the board for different things. You've got area control, and part of that control is trying to go for the different bonuses and shutting some people out of the bonuses and knowing which are the right bonuses for you to go for. So there's that depth of decision making, which I really enjoy in a good game. So I guess the only question is who would I give the award to? And I would probably say out of all three of them, I am a huge Stronghold Games fan. I really love their work. But I really liked Raiders of the North Sea. Raiders of the North Sea just seemed to have that nice interaction. I never felt out of the game. And I always felt like I could turn things around. And there was nice little surprises as I played. That there was what I thought was going to happen didn't end up being what ended up happening. And somehow that still worked out to be good and fun. The question is well, what makes my opinion better than anyone else? And the answer is, well, no reason. At the end of the day, my context and my culture and my gaming group styles will influence the sort of games that I like, and I just think Raiders of the North Sea will prove to be, in time, a better game for our group and a better game for me and a more engaging game for the people involved and the players. Not to mention the fact that I can actually play Raiders of the North Sea more than once. But in all fairness, the games were great. I enjoyed all three of them. Had a ball, looking forward to playing more of them, and I think at the end of the day I'm probably going to play Raiders of the North Sea quite a few more times in the weeks to come. Just to give you an update on how things are going, now I know we finished last year rather suddenly. That was because I essentially left my job rather suddenly. Within the space of a week I applied for a job, got an interview, got the job, and it's taking a lot of work and effort to do. So I don't know how regularly these video posts are going to be over the next time. I'm going to try and do some small things. I'm going to try and do some video diaries for design diaries. And yeah, I am sticking with that. I'm still working on designing a game, which is, just something I set myself. I set that target and I'm looking to achieve it probably within the next few years. We are about ready to record the next season of the Core Mechanics. So Ricky and I are sorting out dates for recording that. We've played all the games for it and we're ready to shoot. And we might have a little bit of a surprise coming this year with a few different things. We're working with partnering up with a few people and coming up with a few surprises. But all that said, it all comes down to how well I can adapt into this job. This job is taking a lot out of me. All the nights that I would spend doing this, I have been spending trying to write reports, write unit plans, put together functions, and it's a lot of work. But I'm going to keep trying to do my best to make sure that this happens. And to the wonderful students at school who have who discovered this YouTube channel and have been sharing around, thank you. To the young student who has been yelling out nerds of wisdom as they walk past in the midst of a crowd, so that I don't know who you are or how to identify you, thanks for the free advertising. However, the one thing I'm eagerly trying to do is to catch up on some of the channels I enjoy watching, and I've been trying to catch up on Nerfenstein, and she is doing amazing stuff at the moment. If you have not gone and checked out both her gaming videos or her mod stuff is juicy, juicy. It's beautiful. She's doing some incredible stuff, so go check her out. I'm also trying to catch up on the Board Gaming Captain, Actual. I've got so many people to catch up with at the moment. I'll get there. In the meantime, do support those channels as well. Check out what we're doing on gamerpalooza.com.au. We've got some great articles coming up, some good reviews, as well as some new stuff that's coming out soon, some Kickstarter stuff, some new releases, which will be good. They are doing a great job, and I'm really pleased to be a staff writer for them, so go check them out. I've got to give a shout out to Infinity Zero, I think is the correct name. Until then, my name's Dave Adams. You've been watching Nerds of Wisdom. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time.